A disturbing discovery in Ireland. A mass grave of children has been found at a site that was once a Catholic orphanage. 3 years ago, a local historian investigated and found death certificates for nearly 800 children who died at the orphanage.
These women want to know more about who they are, and as well as helping the living, they want to know more about the dead. They were all born or spent their earliest years at what was Ireland's biggest mother and baby home.
800 dead babies found, skeletal remains in Tuam, Ireland. This is in a mass grave and a septic system, and people care more about cute puppy videos on YouTube.
This week, forensics officials confirmed those findings. Nuns ran the home where thousands of unmarried mothers were forced to stay as punishment. Many of the women were able to leave after serving their time. Their children were left behind.
It was a place where pregnant women who weren't married were forced to go and then separated from their newborns. And in this wasteland, which used to be part of the home, they're taking the first steps to discover whether the nuns buried babies who didn't survive.
No matter how this story is going to turn out right here, there is some funny business going on. But no matter how it turns out, it is still a sad story nonetheless.
Very often mothers were encouraged to forget about a child that died. That's fine. It was a solution. It was a way out for them. Off they go, have a life.
And is that the reason why the church would have felt it appropriate to bury them in unmarked graves, you think?
I think so.
What I find fascinating is this will get a little bit of exposure, but if you want to type in something about things that don't really matter, then there's going to be 2 million views, 8 million views, 26 million views.
The records already show that hundreds of children died here, so they must be somewhere.
Government-appointed investigators confirmed a local historian's efforts to trace the fates of 800 children who may have perished at the facility.
We have to hold people accountable for these crimes because there are mothers out there, there are siblings, there are grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins who do not know what happened to their loved ones.
This stuff just kind of gets put under the radar. This first came out a few years ago, and then they've been doing more testing in this specific area underneath these homes, literally catacombs, underground caverns, they call them.
Since it became clear that this could have been happening all over Ireland, the government has said it will hold an inquiry, but not even its terms have been set. It hardly looks full of urgency.
This mass grave containing the remains of babies and young children has been discovered at a former Catholic orphanage in Ireland. Government-appointed investigators announced today, this morning.
There are many things you could say about the notional idea of perhaps hundreds of children's bodies being buried in the former grounds of a mother and baby home.
And they're finding all sorts of skeletal remains of babies, of toddlers, adults, and this is based upon a study that's been ongoing now for years.
But perhaps the most extraordinary is that the survivors of that home, all these women, are having to do the investigation themselves. There is absolutely nobody here from the authorities to help them.
The judge-led Mother and Baby Homes Commission said excavations since November at the site of the former Bon Secours Mother and Baby Home in Tuam, County Galway, had found an underground structure divided into 20 chambers.
We went to try to speak to one of the remaining former nuns, Sister Sato. She still lives in Cork, and she was at Bessborough in the 1980s. She referred us to her lawyers.
This is where it gets real spooky. Significant quantities of human remains have been discovered at the site of the former Mother and Baby Home in Tuam, County Galway.
But in a separate phone conversation, she had this to say.
I don't know how many babies are buried there, but all I know is there are 2 crosses with the names on it. If other babies died, I don't know where they're buried.
The commission said DNA analysis of selected remains confirmed the ages of the dead range from the ages of 35 weeks to 3 years old and were buried chiefly in the 1950s.
Catherine, there I am. And there's my letter.
In 2002, however, Sister Sato was able to help Kathy find her medical history. She was born at Bessborough and immediately separated from her mother.
Friday's finding provided the first proof after decades of suspicions that the vast majority of children who died at the home had been interred on the site in unmarked graves.
I'm your daughter. Huh? I'm your daughter. Yes. Yeah.
They were eventually reunited after Kathy's mother had spent most of her adult life in a Catholic workhouse.
Belfast Telegraph. Now, this is not the only time in Ireland that we have been accustomed to these stories of mass graves of children.
My adopted family asked about my mother. They told her she was dead. Her mother's dead. My mother wasn't dead. I hugged her in 2002 and said hi. I'm back. I'm here to water.
796 babies found in septic tank at Catholic Orphanage in Tuam, Galway. It is the exact same orphanage, 2 different locations.
The Catholic establishment here says all these things happened long ago, that the past isn't relevant to the present, but for these women, and many more like them, that's surely the biggest insult of all.